Hello and welcome to round 26's edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show, powered by Talking Rugby Union. Well, we are here. We are at the final weekend of the season. What a weekend we should have in store across levels 3 and 4. But we have to begin by thanking you all for your tremendous support from the start of September right the way through to the end of April, whether that has been liking the National League Rugby Preview Show, subscribing to our YouTube channel, interacting with us on social media, or far more importantly, showing your support and showing your love for your local National League Rugby club. It has been massively appreciated, and it's been another successful season in that regard. We've seen some fantastic attendances as well, and in terms of just us internally, we've seen some fantastic viewing figures and interactions as well. So thank you so much for your support on that. And of course, none of this would happen without the support of the National League clubs themselves, whether that's the players, the coaches, the supporters, the numerous volunteers which are dotted up and down the country. Without the efforts of those guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do week in, week out. So massive thank you to all 56 National League clubs for their hard work this season. So before we get into round 26's show this week, just a quick thank you to everyone who was involved in round 25's edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show. Obviously, we featured Wharfdale and National 2 North, as well as National 1 club Plymouth Albion, who certainly have exciting times on the horizon. And we also checked in with National 1 champions Richmond, as well as National 2 North champions Leeds Tigers. So many thanks to all of those clubs for their time on round 25's edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show. And of course, you can watch all of the shows back from this season on our YouTube channel as well. But looking ahead to round 26 this week, and our feature clubs come in National 2 North and National 2 West. And in National 2 North, of course, people who follow National League Rugby will know it is a big weekend at the bottom of the division, with the relegation fight going right down to the wire. And one of those clubs are Hull, and they travel to Yorkshire side Otley, and Otley are our feature club this week. Just chatting to them about the season, so the season they've had, and they've also made themselves safe from relegation in round 25. So they'll be looking to finish the season on a high at Cross Green, but they are a character in this relegation battle because they do host Hull, who find themselves embroiled in it going into the final day. So we'll be speaking to Otley a little bit shortly. And in National 2 West, we are also checking in with Cinderford. Now, Cinderford aren't in the title race, which is going down to the wire on Saturday between Clifton and Campbell, but they are a club which has an exciting summer ahead of them. They have some really exciting plans, and work is already underway to build a new 3G pitch at the Dockham Road facility. A £1.35 million investment is going into the club, so exciting times ahead for Cinderford. Might not have been the season they wanted on the pitch after coming down from National 1, but speaking to boss Clive Stewart-Smith, they are certainly looking to the future with optimism. So more on that to come a little bit later on. And as we said there, the title race is going the distance in National 2 West, and we'll be hearing from Clifton, who currently lead the way and need just a victory on the final day against Exeter University to be crowned champions. So we'll be hearing from Clifton as well. And just bringing it back to the National 2 North relegation fight, we'll also be hearing from Billingham, who have a massive fixture away at relegation rivals Harrogate to come on Saturday. But more of that later on in the show. But for now, and for the final time during the season, we'll start the National League Rugby Preview Show by checking in National 1, because it is a massive day towards the bottom of the division. So going into the final day of the season then, where all of the attention will be on who survives the drop in National 1. And in round 25, we saw the biggest shift in terms of the relegation battle of this season, with Leicester Lions jumping out of the drop zone at the expense of Esher. A 31-26 victory over 5th place Blackheath was a third win from their last 5 games for Gareth Collins' side, and now they sit 4 points clear of the danger zone going into their final game of the season at home against 9th placed Bishop Stortford. And it really has been some turning of the tables for Leicester Lions, because at the start of February, they were in the bottom 2. They were 13 points behind rivals Esher, having played a game more. But the upturning fortunes of the Lions, combined with Esher's dip in form, leaves them needing just 2 points from that game against Bishop Stortford on Saturday to book their place in National 1 for another season. And you might remember this time last year, the Lions were involved in a similar situation but survived relegation on the final day with victory away at Sale FC. But if Esher are to avoid the drop, they're going to need Leicester Lions to stumble in round 26. Peter Winterbottom's side slipped to an 8th straight defeat in round 25 following a difficult afternoon at Plymouth Albion, and on Saturday they host 11th placed Sedgley Park, knowing they must win to give themselves any chance of staying in National 1 for next season. So confirmation then that Esher will need that favour from Bishop Stortford to survive the drop. Injuries have not helped them this season, but as we said, they need to win to give them a chance of avoiding relegation on Saturday, and they need to find a first home victory since the end of January to do that. So the ball very much in Leicester Lions is caught, but Esher will be fighting right until the final whistle there. And in terms of Esher's opponents, Sedgley Park, they'll be looking to end the season with a win after they signed off at Park Lane with a 63-24 victory over Darlington Moden Park in round 25, which saw the curtain come down on the career of Matt Riley, who made a record 457th and final appearance for the Tigers. An absolutely brilliant achievement from Matt, who capped a special day with a try. And it's been a pleasure watching him in National League Rugby. So congratulations again to Matt on such a fantastic playing career. So that's how it looks in the bottom half of the table. Just to bring up the top half of the standings, where, as we know, the title race is done and dusted, with Richmond clinching the championship in round 24. But the battle for second, as well as the fight for a top 7 finish, does make things interesting on the final day, because as you can see, second place Rotherham Titans, who defeated champions Richmond 40-38 in round 25 in an entertaining 12-try contest at Clifton Lane. They travel to third place Roslyn Park on Saturday, knowing that if they avoid defeat, the silver medal will be theirs, and that would cap off a wonderful campaign for Harvey Billion's side after promotion from National 2 North last term. As for Roslyn Park, they saw their 7-match winning run come to an end in round 25 after an engrossing 49-40 loss away at Rams. But Kieran Power and Steve Neville's side have won 11 straight games at the Rock, so this could be a brilliant afternoon in the capital. In terms of the battle for a top half finish, which I mentioned before, Sale FC are the team who currently occupy 7th place after a brace from Sean Street helped the Dogs to an excellent 35-33 win over table rivals Birmingham Moseley last time out. Now Sale finished the campaign at Hayward Road against 4th place Plymouth Albion this weekend, while Moseley go to 10th place Dings Crusaders, who'll be looking to end a very solid maiden National 1 campaign with a victory. And 9th place Bishop Stortford are still in this conversation because they are 2 points behind Sale, and as we mentioned, they go to Leicester Lions on Saturday. And Tom Coleman's side, actually, despite picking up a couple of injuries last time out in their 61-24 win over Dings, they are in really good form at the moment, having won their last 5 games. So in terms of the relegation scrap, Leicester Lions will need to be wary of that, as they won't be in for a straightforward contest against Bishop Stortford on Saturday afternoon. So a little bit of a narrative there to see who can finish in the top half of National 1. And as we said, Leicester themselves, they need just 2 points to survive relegation, regardless of what he should do against Sedgley Park. While elsewhere, James Shanahan's last game in charge of Blackheath before he heads over to Bury St Edmunds in National 2 East. That comes at Champions Richmond, where there will no doubt be a party atmosphere at the Richmond Athletic Ground. And finally, Rams, who said goodbye to club legend Robbie Stapley in round 25, who is retiring at the end of this campaign. They travel to the northeast to face Darlington Moden Park. So like in National 1, the focus on the final day is on the relegation battle in National 2 North, but only this time there are far more moving parts to it. So the easiest thing for us to do is to bring up the bottom half of the table and run through what happened in round 25. And we'll start with 12th placed Hull, who moved off the foot of the division with a major 29-22 victory over Tynedale. Micah Manga's troops were 22-3 down with around 30 minutes to go, but a Jake Boardman brace and a Paulus Latu score, all in an 8-minute window, levelled things up before Finlay Hobson's converted try on 76 minutes won it for Hull. And after no wins and no points from their games in March, back-to-back maximums for Hull means they now require just 2 points from their final fixture of the season away at 10th placed Otley to ensure their safety. 11th placed Billingham also picked up a sizable victory in round 25 as Peter Evans' 77th minute penalty clinched a 31-28 win over 9th placed Sheffield Tigers at Greenwood Road. The North East side came back from 15-0 down and 28-21 down to seal a 4th win from their last 5 matches. It means Billingham now need just a single point from their final game of the season away at table rivals Harrogate to book their place in National 2 North for a 3rd successive year. And just a fact for you from Billingham's recent form, 6 of their 9 wins this season have come since Christmas, which tells you a fair bit about the fight within the Billingham ranks. So that is Billingham and Hull all boxed off. We referenced Harrogate there, and they fell into the one and only relegation place in round 25 after their 31-17 loss away at newly crowned champions Leeds Tykes. They were unable to register any points despite Cody Brooks' late brace, and consecutive defeats for Martin Wood and Dan Scarborough's side means they must pick up a minimum of 3 league points from their final game of the season against Billingham to stand any chance of avoiding an immediate relegation back down to the regional leagues. And of course, the full 5 points is obviously what Harrogate will be after at the Apollo Capital Stadium. So a big afternoon awaits for them, and a big afternoon also awaits for the last character in this relegation battle, who are 13th place Preston Grasshoppers, who are now 2 points above the drop. Dan Orwin's men fell to a 44-31 home loss to 3rd place Lynn last time out, despite leading 31-29 at one stage, but a 7th straight defeat for Hoppers leaves them still in this scrap, and Preston go to 7th place Chester on the final day. But there won't be any last minute nerves for Otley, who confirmed their safety in round 25 with an excellent 45-22 win away at Hull Ionians after 3 straight defeats. This was a key result for Kyle Dench's men, and who will now be able to enjoy their final game of the season at home against Hull at Cross Green on Saturday. And Otley are our first feature club of the week on the National League Rugby preview show. And while they are out of the relegation picture, Hull, as we said, are certainly not. So it should make for an intriguing 80 minutes of rugby. So ahead of this one on Saturday, and to look back at the season as a whole, we chatted to Otley chairman Paul Mackey as well as head coach Kyle Dench. 25 out of 26 completed. One more game to come this weekend against Hull. I mean, can you maybe give us a bit of a brief summary of how you found the season in Otley, and how do you assess the campaign where it kind of seems that the squad has continued to learn and grow as it's gone on?
Yeah, I think with me and Paul had a meeting last week just about the kind of number of turnover of players we've had over the last 4 seasons. We're looking about 40 players overall. And, that's no fault of our own. A little bit of down to we're our development club, so players will move on naturally. And we want, obviously, boys to come in, target people from the lower leagues, develop them, and hopefully, shake their hand and wish them well. I've had people move away for work, move to Australia. So it's been a bit of a challenge in relation to that. The season itself, I think, it's probably been the most competitive league it has been for some time, and obviously you see the points difference in comparison to the other two leagues at our level. So yeah, in relation to that, it's really competitive, and it's been a tough learning curve at points, but the games against Lim and Fylde particularly stand out. We've done some fantastic work, and I think that puts us in good stead for next season.
Yeah, what's important, Chris, is that competitive nature of this league attracts members, attracts spectators, gets people in the ground. There's always jeopardy in the game, whether you're playing top of the league or bottom of the league. And that's been proven the case this year, where we've beaten 6 of the top 8 sides and top 9 sides, and we've lost to 3 of the bottom 4 sides. So, but that excitement, that jeopardy in the game is really important to get people through the gate.
Yeah, just for me, I think rugby's becoming a younger sport progressively. I think the older heads are probably stopping playing a little bit earlier than they used to. And obviously with that, when you're a younger player, there's lots of avenues to learn, and being at such a competitive level, sometimes those learning moments are going to be a bit tough, but you've got to take a bit of pain to push through and get better, don't you?
Yeah, and have we perhaps seen possibly that, Kyle, over sort of the last few weeks or so? Because you guys had that kind of spur between February and March, didn't you, where you got 3 or 4 wins in a row, and you kind of started to move away from this relegation battle, which seems to be dominating National 2 North towards the end of this season. But you obviously had a few setbacks, but to respond the way you did against Hull Ionians 2 weeks ago, does that just kind of show you what you were saying there, that this group can learn from those setbacks and go and produce a performance like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great group of lads, and there's lots of growth in it too. Again, we looked at the team that were promoted, and the kind of the makeup of that team, and finishing 6th, and looking at the makeup of the team, we just lost quite a few key people like Luke Cole, Reece Ward, Dan Preston Routledge. Obviously, this year has been a bit of he's just had a little baby, so. That's taken a bit more of his time. Brandon Staples retired. And you're talking about people that have played Premiership, Championship rugby, and to replace them with the kind of demographic of player, not necessarily dropping down the divisions like they used to. They're tough people to replace. You're looking now at people grabbing the shirt and running with it, like a Ryan Gibson, who's been incredible with the ball. Will Derry's come in this year from Burton in the league below and done fantastically well to step up. There's lots of people within our group now that can stick their head up high and say the National 2 rugby players. We just got to build that around them, and that the growth of the squad around their mindset. But those fruits of all the work, like Steve Bowden's been absolutely unbelievable this year. Justin Hall with the stats he's been doing and stride plays. All those bits are coming to fruition a little bit, and if we can put our best foot forward into next season, I think they'll start to grow even further.
We were looking down the barrel of a gun, to be fair, at the coming out of the January period, but the crucial game in my world, and I think in the spectator member world, was the Lim game. Where we tore into them, came away with a good 5-point victory. Then that allowed some momentum to progress over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and those 4 games, 4 wins out of 5, were absolutely essential to get to the position where we are now. And then she does an amazing job pulling together a squad in order to compete. And mid-table above is a good position in National 2. Nobody wants to be in a dogfight, and I feel some sympathy for the likes of Hull that we're playing this week, Harrogate, Hoppers. They're all great clubs with good squads, all playing good levels of rugby that can beat the best in the league, but they all find themselves in a bit of a dogfight this weekend. So, let's see how it all unravels.
Yeah, I was going to say, Paul, for you and Kyle, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a relaxing afternoon at Cross Green, maybe, than for opponents on Saturday. I guess, when the result came through, I think Harrogate played on the Friday night, didn't they, against Leeds Tykes, and the fact that result went the way it did, I think that made you guys safe before you went to Hull Ionian. So I guess you were able to enjoy your rugby that weekend, and I guess you're hoping to enjoy the day itself again on Saturday.
I don't think Dempsey goes into any game trying to enjoy it. I think he puts his best foot forward on every match, and he never thinks about the opposition. It's always about what we can do. And that won't be any different on Saturday, I'm absolutely sure, because whether Hull can grab 2 points out of us to stay safe, I think the bigger fight in the game is going to be what's happening down at Apollo, down at Harrogate, where Billingham are travelling down. And if there's a team in the league that plays for the shirt, it's probably those boys from up in Billingham.
And just a few more from me, just in terms of just Otley themselves, Paul, if you don't mind, because I was having a little read over the Easter weekend, and I saw you guys have picked up a national award, ever right in saying, for the work you guys do in the community. And I know we're talking about sort of the wider Yorkshire region, but how important is it for this club to still be such an important role in the community, Paul?
No, it's massive. I mean, the Persimmon Community Champions Award is an award that gets nominated every month, but every year there's £1,000 available every month for community clubs, and not just rugby. It could be scout clubs, it can be church-run clubs. We were lucky enough 18 months ago to get £1,000 from the Persimmon Community Championship. That we went into the national award, and we ended up being successful of that. And there are linkages there. We've got a bright future ahead once. We're in the process. We're at the sort of nuts end, really, of a big relocation that's going to see us move half a mile down the road. Hopefully within the next 6 to 12 months, that journey will start, and delivering an exemplar rugby club, sports club, fit for the future and the next 165 years. I mean, that's the goal. Obviously, politics and funding comes into that, but we are hopeful that our position in Otley, our position in the community will be as equally important down there as it is on Cross Green.
Because I was going to say, because kind of is the strength of the club kind of echoed maybe from what we're going to see at this weekend. I saw on Twitter this morning that the lunch is a sellout for the final day of the season. So I'm guessing you hope that absolutely translates wherever this club goes forward.
Yeah, we do pretty well at the lunches. It's an important part. I mean, Dempsey doesn't always agree with him because he wants to kick off a bit earlier, but we've got to get 120 people through the lunch in a couple of hours and get them spending some money on the bar. We've equally got our under-14s in the Yorkshire Cup final at Bradford and Bingley on Sunday as well. So, we've got a good throughput. We've got under-6s up to under-16s in the club. Getting those kids into senior rugby is the goal. But yeah, a full clubhouse before and after, great game of rugby, and win or lose, we'll enjoy ourselves.
We've also got the under-12s coming in as mascots as well. So for this week, so we generally rotate that round. There's like a sign-up sheet, and each of the teams come in and meet the first team and meet the squad and clap us out and help us pre-game. And there's quite a bit of work on in the background with Tom Parnell. Around the connection from the Zebras, that's our junior section, and the first team squads, which has been fantastic this year, and we want to build on it moving forward.
Yeah, what Dempsey and Bowden have done in the last couple of years, really, but more so this year, is young people, young men, young boys and girls look up to mentors. They see people and they say, I want to be like that. And such is the standard of National 2. Those young kids can look at the likes of Malty and Callum and Eddie, Gibbo, and we've mentioned a few already, and aspire to be those people running out on a pitch. And the work that Dempsey's put into that this year has been fantastic, and hopefully the result will be rewarded for the under-14s on Sunday when they play down at Bradford and Bingley.
Absolutely, Paul, and you'll be hoping for a winning weekend at Cross Green on Saturday. And just finally, guys, just in terms of the game itself, obviously, I think you've both kind of touched on it. Really, a lot of focus will be on Hull at the weekend, but we want to focus on yourselves, giving you our a feature club of the week on the National League Rugby preview show. Just looking at the fixture, I think if you were able to get the win on Saturday, I think that would be 4 of the last 5 that you've won at home, and I think if you do win it, you might have matched or even surpassed last year's points total as well. Kyle. So that must be, if you were to do that, give you a fantastic platform, an exciting platform to build on going into the summer and next season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough ask. Obviously, Hull have got a big battle on their hands where they're situated. But for us, I think, we can just stick to quote Callum Irvine, stick to process. He loves saying that, bless him. Stick to process, play to the game plan, and just give bundles of effort for each other. And that's the biggest kind of element. You don't do that, you don't get anything, do you, in rugby?
52 points for survival in this league. I've never known it like this before. I mean, it's been absolutely insane. 32, 33 seems to be the norm in West and East, but North has been a hell of a battle this year, and it'll be sad to see whoever goes. And, I'm not a betting man. I wouldn't like to put my money anywhere, but you can see some real fights on the hands. As Denchi says, Hopper's going to Chester, plastic pitch they both play on, but Chester's no easy place to come away with 4 or 5 points, which is what they will need to ensure their survival. So, looking forward to a good weekend.
Yeah, we should have got Paul and Kyle on earlier to talk about National 2 North, just in general, rather than just focusing on Otley. I think everyone's been embraced and absorbed really by what's happening towards the bottom of National 2 North. But for Paul and Kyle, thankfully, from their point of view, it will not be their concern on Saturday because Otley are very much safe. They have put their place in National 2 North for next season and will be hoping to sign off with a victory in front of what will be a very excited Cross Green crowd on Saturday afternoon. But to Kyle and to Paul, thanks so much for your time and all the very best for Saturday as well.
Thank you,
All
Chris.
the best. Cheers, Chris.
So a big thanks to both Paul and Kyle for their time earlier on this week. Great to hear how Otley are looking to take the learnings from the last couple of years in National 2 North to keep nurturing and progressing their squad. And like the rest of us as well, Paul and Kyle quite obviously absorbed by the relegation battle that is going on below them in the standings. And of course, it is going to be a massive Saturday for Otley's opponents, Hull, as it will be for Harrogate, Preston Grasshoppers and Billingham. And we were able to get the thoughts of Billingham, who go to Harrogate on Saturday. So here is how they're feeling ahead of such a big day in National 2 North.
Yeah, as big as it comes, isn't it? We said it all season. Every game in this league's a big one. But going away to Harrogate, a team who we know are proud at home with what's on the line, it doesn't get any bigger, mate. We're looking forward to it.
But yeah, what do you expect from Harrogate coming into obviously that final game?
Well, they have to win. They have to score 4 tries. So this is the way they've played with the amount of bonus points they've got all season. I'm expecting them to be physical up front, but also have a go and move the ball, which kind of suits us and works for us. We're not thinking about a point here, a point there, losing in 7, this, that, and the other. I think it's a case of it's a game we've targeted to win all season. Nothing changes. We go and win by any means necessary. And the lads are, you can see from the last sort of 8 weeks, 10 weeks, we've had plans every week and it's worked out well. We've got a certain way that we want to play on Saturday and we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, and we've got a decent crowd following, a couple of supporter buses heading down, so it should be a good final game of the season again.
Yeah, the atmospheres are always big like last game of the season, and but this one there seemed to be a big buy-in. I know you've pushed it big on social media, and I think we've actually extended a supporters bus, and I know you've said it every year, every game this year. Sorry, as we've been working towards, and asking the crowd to come down, asking them to bring the noise. It does make a massive difference to the lads and push it over the line.
Kids team on tour as well, I think.
Yeah, for the kids team, yeah.
That's 3 buses there, kids team plus parents plus everyone who's coming to support. So it's probably our closest game in the league. Technically our local derby, I think, on mileage. And we've got loads of people driving down as well. So that support's been unbelievable all year, and hopefully get us over the line at the weekend.
So there we go, a bit of a flavour of how Billingham are feeling going into the final day. And there is a scenario where both Billingham and Harrogate can avoid the drop, but so many twists and turns are bound to happen on Saturday. So calculators at the ready to see who can avoid the drop and who will be the one team to slip through the trap door. And as we've reiterated throughout the National 2 North segment of this show, a massive weekend in the relegation fight then. Just to say it one more time, Harrogate versus Billingham, Preston away at Chester, and Hull away at Otley is where the headlines will be made, but who will survive and who will go down? So much to be intrigued about from a neutral perspective heading into Saturday. Just quickly, here is a quick look at the top half of the table going into the final round of fixtures of the season, where Leeds Tigers will be targeting a staggering 124 points when they travel to 5th place Tynedale, while Fylde, who you can see there, they secured a top 4 finish last time out following an excellent 36-22 away win at Wharfdale, despite having a man sent off on 33 minutes, and they will be looking to end the season strongly against 2nd place Sheffield, who've had a fabulous season under the guidance of Anthony Poser. So just to bring you back to the fixtures, where as you can see halfway down, 3rd place Lim, like Sheffield, have had a memorable campaign in 2024-25, and they bring the curtain down at home against Hull Ionians. And last but not least, Wharfdale make the trip to South Yorkshire to face Sheffield Tigers. Well, all the talk in National 2 East going into round 25 was whether Tunbridge Julians could clinch the title against Oxford Harlequins. Jordan Turner Hall and Seb Sherwood's men knew victory in the sunshine at a packed out Slade where over 1,000 people were in attendance would seal the deal. And even though they found themselves 14-5 down after just 17 minutes, the league leaders eventually surged to a 69-19 victory. And with that, they sealed promotion back to National 1. Fullback Josh Tussler grabbed himself a hat-trick, whilst there were doubles for Duncan Tout and Connor Lloyd in this 11-try win. And TJs are now back in the 3rd tier for the first time since the 2021-22 season. 22 victories for a possible 25 shows you just how strong TJs have been this term, and we are hoping to do something with Tunbridge Julians over the next couple of weeks or so to get some reaction from their camp. So do keep an eye out for that. But Chairman Darren Graysby did tell the club website a couple of weeks ago that National 1 is where Tunbridge Julians belong. We had a plan to get back there in 5 years, and we've done it sooner than that. Everyone has worked hard at the club to make it a possibility. So once again, congratulations to Tunbridge Julians on their promotion to National 1. But what it means is that all of the major decisions have been decided going into the final day, but all 14 clubs will be keen to head into the summer on a positive note. So let's run through round 26 fixtures in National 2 East, and we will go down the list in order this week, starting with a final home game in charge at Bury St Edmunds for Jacob Ford. After 4 years with the Wolfpack, he will be moving on to pastures new and will hope to back up round 25's excellent 38-36 success away at Old Albanian against 6th place Westcombe Park, who've had a brilliant campaign themselves after a 9th place finish last season. Relegated Colchester will sign off at Raven Park. Mike Hayward's men would love to record a second home win of the season, but 4th place Canterbury have had a smashing campaign and will look to finish with a 5th straight win. A battle of the top 2, which could have had so much riding on it going into the final day, will still be a quality fixture at the big field as Dorking entertain newly crowned champions Tunbridge Julians, and a win for Dorking would see them secure 2nd place ahead of Barnes, who go to Oxford Harlequins, and the hosts have had a season to remember in their maiden campaign at this level. Just a quick shout out as well to Barnes' videographer Henry Knight, who has provided some brilliant footage this season and is taking his GCSEs later this summer. So all the best to Henry for that. And it's people like Henry who have allowed us to put National League Rugby on the map once again this season. Back to the action then, where Henley, on the back of beating the aforementioned Barnes 21-19 in round 25 away from home, they'll be looking to break into the top half of the table on the final day when they take on 5th placed Old Albanian, but they will only be able to do that if 7th place Guernsey hit a bump in the road away at Worthing. Guernsey have won their last 2 matches, including a pulsating 34-26 win over Sevenoaks 2 weeks ago. And speaking of Sevenoaks, they conclude the season against Havant at the Paddock. And finally, it all comes down to this. The National 2 West title race is going to the wire, with Clifton in pole position for promotion to National 1. Both they and Camborne secured bonus point wins in round 25, but neither of the title candidates had it their own way. For Clifton, despite wrapping up the bonus points in the first half away at already relegated Bourneville, they only found themselves 24-23 to the good just after the break. But 3 tries in a 10-minute window saw the league leaders take the game away from their hosts as they secured a 50-30 success in the Midlands. As for Camborne, they were trailing 21-14 on 43 minutes against Devonport Services at home. But similar to Clifton, they were able to power clear of the side bottom of the table to record a 43-26 victory, and it means Camborne have won all 13 games at home this season. So just to bring up the table as it stands going into the final day, 3 points is the gap between Clifton and Camborne, and the Lavender and Blacks know victory at Station Road on the final day of the season against 11th placed Exeter University will clinch the title. As for Camborne, they head to Cheshire to face 12th place Macclesfield, needing Exeter to do them a favour in Bristol if the door is to be opened in this title race. But whatever the outcome for the Cherry and Whites, Steve Larkins' troops have had a brilliant campaign. So to look ahead to the final day of the season, Clifton were able to give us a sense of how they are feeling ahead of what could be a new slice of history for the Lavender and Black. So here is a quick chat with Director of Rugby, Matt Salter.
Look, obviously, it's quite interesting because you look across the leagues, and I'm not sure if I'm right in this exactly, but there's not many coming down to the final weekend to decide that promotion and relegation. I think this weekend is obviously significant, but kind of ourselves and Camborne have been out in front for a little while now, and it's felt like if anyone slipped up a little bit, and Camborne obviously lost to Luctonians, that it would let the other one in. So I think there's been quite a bit of pressure week in, week out for the last few weeks, and ultimately we've got that pressure again this weekend. But it's something that's been there for a few weeks, I think. So that's why it probably came down a little bit to that game against us and Camborne as well. So as I say, we understand the gravity of the weekend, but also it's been like that for the last few weeks, really. Yeah, our start to the season certainly didn't put us in a position necessarily where we thought we'd be at the end of the season, but since that day at Hinckley where we lost to a good side, but we felt we weren't where we could be, we've gone on a significant run of games with that one loss, which I think it's credit to the boys, credit to the. We always knew we had a good squad, and I think I underestimated, and maybe we underestimated just how long it takes a little bit to gel. And I think those first 3 games were that process, but we also had some tough games. The first game of the season, the only team we haven't beaten is Exeter, and we drew with them in the first game. So I think those first 3 games were tough. We probably underestimated that, but we also underestimated how much bringing a new squad together will take a little bit of time. And since that point, I think we've just improved. We hope, ultimately we finish it the way we want to finish it, but the journey that the guys have been on has been amazing. And as a group, they've been there through the dark months, the wet months, the sunny months, the pre-season, all those kind of things. And I think we probably, need to remind ourselves that that's what we play sport for, and how lucky we are to be part of a group that go on that journey. And I do try and remind the boys that, me being a bit older, that they're very lucky to sort of be part of such a journey. And hope, you want to finish it now well, and I think that's probably, hopefully, which is in the mindset of all the boys, that league titles don't come around very often. You can win cup games, you can win various one-off fixtures, you can do league titles, and I think you can see from winning the league, it doesn't really lie about where you are. And I think that's what I want the boys to do, is just take that opportunity to, when you get an opportunity to win something with such gravity as this, don't miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we talked about kind of the pressure and the high standards you set this season, Matt. Does that kind of also sharpen the focus going into this one against Exeter, and potentially going into the game against Bourneville a couple of weeks ago? Obviously, you were probably on cloud nine after that win against Camborne, and people might, like myself, are saying, Clifton are in pole position now, it's in their hands. But have you, because of the nature of this season where you guys have won, Camborne have won, has that just helped kind of keep the players' mind sharp and go, as you say, try and finish this season as strong as possible?
Yeah, I guess sort of in my mind, I thought after the Camborne game that if we get past Bourneville, we'll be all right, because that kind of atmosphere, you go an away game for them. There was a lot of players. It was their last time playing for Bourneville, and the scenario they were in. And I think you saw from both teams that we were very close at half-time. Camborne were losing to Devonport down there. Those games could be really, really tricky to navigate if you're just trying to bring it to that last game at home. So I felt we get past Bourneville. But now I sit in this week, I'm just as worried about this week now, and I'll come up with my own reasons why this is going to be just as difficult. And I think hopefully that keeps us on the edge. And it is that question of, our why has to be greater. And I think hopefully with the league title at stake, that the boys will be where they need to be, and not beyond where they need to be. There's a real, as you sit here as a coach, sort of finals games, it's balancing that emotional pressure with your performance. And, you have to try and treat it as much of a normal game as possible, with that mindset of what's at stake. And I think that's where we need to get the balance right this week. We trained Tuesday last week, which gave us an opportunity just to cover off some bits. This week we can then treat as a fairly normal week leading into a game.
Yeah, and just a couple more from me, Matt. You said they're kind of treating the game as normal, and I was reading an interview that Luke did in the rugby paper over the weekend. And he said, we have to kind of treat this game as normal, because you don't know what Exeter University can turn up. They've got so many different options, haven't they, in terms of player personnel? They love to play rugby, they love to throw the ball around. Their university book season has come to an end now, so you're probably having to prepare for various different scenarios as well, which probably goes into, that focus that we just talked about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that Exeter play a certain way, and as you say, you probably described some of the way you'd expect a student side to play. I think if they come with what they may perceive as their strongest group, or slightly less than that, they will play in a manner that Exeter University will play. I think we can expect that. It just by personnel, that could be of a higher standard of that way of playing, and we have to be prepared for that. I think playing them probably the first game of the season, when Bucks hasn't started as well, gives us the mindset and ability to know that, if that strongest side come on the day, then we have probably faced that, and we are aware of the challenge that brings. But I think almost we've shown that when we play the better sides, it almost heightens our mindset. And I think, we're definitely not going to underestimate what's coming this weekend. I think that's probably quite a good way to finish the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, just finally, obviously, the title race is still going on. Camborne is still there. You won't be just disregarding that as much as some people in the media might be saying it might be done and dusted. But if you were to get the job done on Saturday at Station Road in front of your own supporters, I can imagine the crowd might be very similar to what we saw against Camborne a couple of weeks ago. Just how much would it mean to you guys collectively to write a bit of new history for what is such an historic club?
Yeah, I mean, everyone says, "Oh, did you start the season out to get promoted?" In all honesty, no. We started the season out to bring a great group of players together and go on a journey with them. And it sounds a bit cliched, but with Campbell doing very well, we didn't know this was a possibility, and certainly not after the first few games. I've been at the club a long time, and maybe I haven't done it justice that we haven't won something. Do you know what I mean? But there's been a lot of teams in this league that have remained in this league for a long time, and this opportunity hasn't come around in all the years I've been here. And I think you can see from people surrounding the club that it's an important thing for us to do, to be successful. And it almost ratifies the approach we've taken this year and the way we've gone about things, that if we do finally get over the line, I think it sort of vindicates an approach we've taken this year that we hope has been, one, enjoyable, two, has put the journey at the heart of what we do, and ultimately, if the prize at the end rewards that journey, then I think it's a great accolade for us.
So there we have it. Many thanks to Clifton for setting up that chat with Matt earlier this week. But will it be them or will it be Camborne who go on to lift the National 2 West title? Both of these teams have been the best teams in this division all season long, but it comes down to 80 minutes of rugby on Saturday to see who will clinch promotion to National 1, and we cannot wait to find out how it all unfolds. And perhaps 6th place Cinderford might like to be in that sort of position this time next year. The Forest of Dean club came down from National 1 12 months ago, and while promotion has been out of their reach this term, exciting times are afoot in Gloucestershire. Work is already underway at their Dockham Road home, with the club installing a state-of-the-art 3G pitch for the 2025-26 season and a £1.35 million project which is set to transform facilities at the club. The upgrade is being backed by Cinderford president Peter Bell, and the investment is set to be a massive benefit not only to Cinderford in terms of the rugby side of things, but of course the wider community. And we'll be hoping to speak to Peter during the summer to check in on the progress with the club, hoping that the pitch will be ready by the start of August. But for now, here is Cinderford boss Clive Stewart-Smith to tell us more. Exciting times to come for Cinderford. We've just had a great little prelim chat, haven't we, about what's to come for the club over there over the summer, really, and looking forward to next season. But if you don't mind, let's just start with this season, Clive, for Cinderford. And we've said multiple times this season on the show that National 2 West has been arguably the most competitive division in National League Rugby this season, and added to the fact that you guys and Taunton are at this level this year. So how, as a club, how have you found the campaign in National 2 West this year?
Yeah, I think it's been it's probably what we expected. I think we've been in this position before, where we've hit relegation and then obviously been wanting to get promoted, immediately, which has always been a target of ours. But like you said there, it's an ultra competitive league. Where are we? We're probably not quite as high as we feel we had the potential to be. But the stats don't really lie. They say it as it is. We've been more successful than we haven't, but we haven't necessarily been consistent enough to deliver, a promotion season, or being the kind of top 1 or 2 or 3, which we're obviously looking to be for next year.
Yeah, because, listening to you, Clive, it sounds like you guys have probably learned a lot about yourselves during this season, because if you do kind of look at the first half of the campaign, if I'm right in saying, you'll be able to correct me, you stitched a really good run of form together. I think you went away to Clifton, the only team to beat Clifton at Station Road this year. You got the better of Camborne as well before Christmas. So signs are there that this side this Cinderford team can absolutely challenge towards that promotion spot again, right up towards top spot. But I guess, as you said, it's about sustaining that, which is such a challenge in National 2 West.
It is, and I think we were, everyone has challenges, and we're very aware of that. We wanted to keep the core of our squad together over the past 2 years. Just, it's been that cycle, and again, every club hits that cycle where players hit a certain age demographic or family or work or a multitude of factors come into it. So we were in an element of a rebuild that often takes place when you get relegated, and often that is because I suppose maybe you are papering over cracks, and eventually then when things don't work out, relegation hits, which allows a reset. Ultimately, the club want to be back in a National One and looking up as well. I think that's a bit of a mission statement for us, that we're not just a National One club and happy and content. We are looking to drive our standards as high as possible. And we'll come onto the pitch, I suppose, a bit later on in terms of what that could bring. But from where the season is initially, you always want to, we're not here saying we want to be a top 6 team. You ultimately want to win every weekend, which puts you in a position to win the league, and that's something that we haven't moved away from. It's the same with our last game of the season. We want to make sure we finish as high up the table as we possibly can do. We've got a very young age profile, particularly across our back line. A lot have moved up significantly from a level, and we weren't expecting them to a big group, more than a handful of that match day squad to come in and deliver promotion winning, and being at a National One standard, because I think that's a really important point, really, that the team that wins have to be a National One standard. You can't just be a National Two, because otherwise you just yo-yo up and down. So what we are ultimately trying to deliver is being a sustainable club with the potential to actually sustain in the league we're in and not be that team, because it's a nightmare to plan. But we've given a lot of experience to those 18. Again, average age of the back line was 21 at one stage, and this is men's rugby. We've dipped into the kind of the uni bucks resource as well, and bled a lot of players through, which will be far stronger as we move into next season. With some, obviously some key additions in key places. It's creating, I suppose, or building on the culture that we've got now, and people want to be here. Yes, it's rugby. Yes, it's competitive, but the more they enjoy being here, the more opportunity we got. And that, you can't run away from the pitch. We've all turned up here. I mean, I'm here now. We've turned up here now on a Thursday, and we couldn't train. It's been that bad, and I'm not saying that's unique to us. It's not. Everyone has those different challenges, but particularly in and around this area, it's been a massive factor in terms of enjoyment side of things.
Yeah, so let's get into it, Clive. Obviously, it's such an exciting time for Cinderford. Obviously, it hit the local news. I think it was around February time when it was all kind of confirmed that you guys will be getting a new 3G pitch. Hopefully, you said off there as well. Hopefully, it'll be all sorted by the start of August as well. So, for people who don't know, Cinderford will be getting a £1.35 million investment going into new facilities at Dockham Road, very much centred around this new 3G pitch. New floodlights as well, I think, are getting installed. And President Peter Bell is very much behind this project. We did want to get him on for a chat, but he's currently enjoying his holiday at the moment, so we'll speak to him over the summer.
Probably a fancy dress, yeah. Probably a fancy dress, Mickey Mouse maybe, or one of the two. But yeah, what a great guy. I think every club has someone of note, but Pete is he played here. It means more than. It's not just an investment. It's a genuine, project that he is the most passionate person that you come across. And like I said at the beginning, it's just for the right reasons, which puts not just a Cinderford on a map. We are on a map. It's actually securing our long-term future, and so building out longevity. Because I've seen it with a lot of friends or a lot of people I used to play with. Their clubs are kind of folding. They're folding for a number of different reasons, but actually, if you can't have children all the way through to women and girls, through to the senior teams and the social teams, then yeah, we ultimately do lack that. It's quite rare actually that you've got a facility, a pitch bang in the middle of a town.
Yeah,
and that's the bit that we've probably not got right over the years, is the fact that it's not really been a hub. there's amazing facilities here, but it's not been that hub that it should be, because that and the potential there, again, like you mentioned, all the different aspects of it from a commercial perspective, all the way through to to an attendance point of view, all the different facilities it's got. There are other plans as well, moving further down the line in what else we can actually have in and around the pitch, which again is another exciting layer to, the first step. But yeah, it ultimately comes down to keeping and growing our community sport base. You can play football on it. We will play football on it. I think the rugby group are pretty happy about that as well. But it's very much a rugby first, facility built for rugby. I think it's an important thing, to say. And actually, yeah, the objective is kind of grassroots to greatness. We're desperate to have someone that starts from picks up a rugby ball for the very first time and then goes on to play for England or Wales or Scotland or wherever through Cinderford as a pathway. So it's very much a sports hub to bring people together, with rugby being the focal point, and tapping into the history that has gone alongside it. You look at some of the names that have played for us as a club. Certainly in my time, the Sam Underhills, the Josh Adams, the Callum Sheedys, the list goes on. Even when you take it back to the Andy Deacons of the world, who are kind of legends when it comes to that side of things. The Henry Trinders, the Freddie Burns. There's a huge wealth of talent that's come through this in a slightly different model. Whereas now we can kind of hopefully create our own.
Yeah, and you've kind of overlapped it really nicely, Clive, because I'm going to say it shows the ambition of the club as well. Obviously, people who watch the show will know Cinderford were in National One for a fair bit of time before coming down last year. So I guess having this facility in place, it's another sign that Cinderford want to be ambitious. They want to aim high, but they want to do it in their own way.
Yeah, and that is a clear target as well. I think obviously everyone has different ways of speaking about these things, but we know that we've got the capacity here, particularly with the strength around us. With Gloucester just being a short distance away, Hartpury are obviously flying in the championship at the moment. We do feel like we're just in a really strong position to be that next layer. But how we get there, I think, is a really important thing. So I think the challenge for us is to get back to where we feel we should be, but doing it with a core of Cinderford that ultimately is bled through the mini and juniors. That will take a bit of time. It's not going to happen next year from where the players actually sit. The majority of our players currently are not living in Cinderford. And that's something that we do want to change, where that you want to play for your local club and then move up, and that's something that we're also really passionate about. And there's some good stories already. Players that have been ever present in our United group, so our kind of second team senior group, in the space of a year, have moved into a kind of national league and moved on from us and moved on again. And actually now we've got a group that, there's going to be a couple of Premiership signings, having been at Cinderford kind of 3 or 4 years ago, which again is just exactly the place we want to be, and taps back into that grassroots to greatness story that hopefully we can open the net a little bit wider rather than just rely on 1 or 2 individuals doing it. We want a group every year to be pushing on.
And just to kind of round things off, obviously you guys played your first 15 game on the original pitch against Bourneville a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, you got a fantastic win there. So, what's kind of the situation now for you guys? Obviously, I believe work is going on at the moment, but as you're at the club now, but in terms of welcoming Old Red Cliffians to your place on Saturday, how excited is everyone by that, and to kind of sign off with a victory this season?
Yes, and we did talk a lot around the history, and Pete, rightly so, came and spoke to the players, and they love it when he kind of comes in and speaks exactly his mind, which again is something that we often promote is there is an open door. We need a kind of an open door policy that everyone should be able to say exactly how they feel. So there's no distance between what happens on the field and off the field, and that's something that we've really got to push forward for next time. So it was a historical day, absolutely, and those players that played in that day, they will look back on it and they'll be, pretty privileged to be involved in that game. It was brilliant that we played very well, and we scored some amazing tries, which is exactly how you want to kind of finish. So we are actually, and it's not happened for a long time, but we are moving our last home game to Berry Hill, which are our friends just round the corner, and so we're just for the final game of our season. And the reason why we wanted to do that is we wanted to have the new pitch ready for the beginning of pre-season, or certainly in and around that time, instead of potentially not being able to hit the league campaign with a pitch, which means that we miss out on the pre-season element. So that was a very sensible reason why we've accelerated the pitch build, ultimately getting that in place. But there's still a level of excitement because, as you get every single year, players are leaving, retiring, finishing. There's a whole host of reasons why that becomes really important. And also, I think the Forest is an important area, much as though there's rivalries, and that will always be the case. Our Stags team actually played, so our third team senior played Berry Hill the other day. We're kind of trying to, again, with a facility that might open up to the whole of the Forest. It's exactly what we want to do, is kind of not build bridges because they're already there, but actually all work together to, we want rugby to be a thriving sport within the Forest of Dean.
So many thanks to Clive for his time on Wednesday. As we've reiterated, exciting times to come for Cinderford. And as we say, we are hoping to catch up with Peter during the summer. He's currently away on holiday and enjoying a well-deserved break after being so integral in getting the plans around the new pitch off the ground. So as we say, big plans and big things to come for Cinderford, certainly over the summer and going into next season. But in terms of the here and now, Cinderford will be playing their round 26 game against Old Redcliffeans, aiming to try and finish as high as they can, which could even be fourth in the table, but that position is currently occupied by Loughborough students, who may in fact be targeting the bronze medal position when they go to Taunton on Saturday. Martin Webdale's side have won the last 3 and are 3 points behind third place Taunton, so there is certainly something to play for at Veritas Park, with the Titans looking to back up round 25's entertaining 49-47 success over Hinckley. Fifth placed Hornets have had a fantastic season themselves, and they'll be aiming to sign off in similar fashion when they visit Redruth. And just as a side note, it won't be the last rugby played at Redruth over the next 2 weeks, as the Recreation Ground is hosting a big charity event on May 4th, all in aid of Rugby for Riley. The event has been organised by Scott Lake, the father of young Riley, who was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a muscle wasting condition with no current cure. The rugby community has rallied around past events like this, and it is set to be another mega day a week on Sunday. 2 games of rugby are on offer. Loads of National League rugby names will be involved, such as Plymouth Albion boss Ryan Lamb and Redruth director of rugby Nigel Hanley, as well as ex-professionals such as Stephen and Dylan Armitage, Tom Barnbell, who is no stranger to the National Leagues as well as Ethan Waller, plus live music and entertainment across the course of the day too. So all the details are there. do go to Rugby for Riley on Facebook for more information. Just bringing it back to the rest of the action and that in round 26 in National 2 West. The bottom two sides meet well and will be keen to end the campaign on a positive note when Devonport Services entertain Bourneville. Well, there'll be a new name in charge of Uptonians next term after the club confirmed current boss Ryan Watkins will be departing Mortimer Park after Saturday's meeting with Hinckley. So Lux will be hoping to give Ryan the perfect send-off by recording a 5th straight win. And of course, the title race, Clifton at home to Exeter University and Cambourne away at Macclesfield. Clifton in the driving seat, as we've already said. 8 straight wins for the table toppers, 1 defeat in their last 19 games at Station Road. So can they add one more victory to that tally on the biggest weekend for the club in their recent history? Obviously, Exeter will be no mugs when they arrive at Station Road. They have a quality squad to choose from, and it'd be interesting to see which team arrives in Bristol for that game. But the waiting is almost over to see who will be crowned champions. Will it be Clifton or will it be Cambourne? We can't wait to find out.